A small boy was trying to lift a big rock, and he struggled. And his father just watched patiently. And finally, the dad said to his son, "Son, are you using all of your strength?" And the little boy said, "Yes, Dad, I am." And the dad said, "No, you're not. You haven't asked me yet to help you." Amazing what we can do connected with others. We strive to be connected, don't we? And I think our age is really as expert as any age so far. We stay in touch wirelessly with cell telephones. We text. We email. We visit restaurants that are hot spots with Wi-Fi. People go to Facebook and connect. Although sometimes it seems that it used to be who you know, today it's how many you know. Hundreds and hundreds of people connected. But we want to stay connected. There was a bishop that was celebrating confirmation in a parish, and he was talking with the confirmation candidates. And he asked the class, "How many of you have cell phones?" And of the 28 students, all but 2 had their own cell phones. And he said, "How much time do you spend on your phone, talking or texting each week?" The winner was 40 hours a week. The average was 3 hours a day. And then the bishop asked, "How much time do you spend praying to God every day?" And the range at the high end was from 15 minutes to 8 minutes a day. And it begged the question, didn't it? 3 hours a day staying connected with friends, 8 minutes a day staying connected with God. So what is the place of God in our lives? As a dear, dear friend, or as a mere acquaintance? Somebody was writing about a complaint. Person was saying, "I've given up on prayer. God never answers my prayers." And the person responded, "Well, if you treated your friends like you treated God, they wouldn't answer you either." We have to work at staying connected. Why do we do it so well with one another and oftentimes so poorly with God? Is God my dear, dear friend, or is God simply an acquaintance of mine? What does my life show about that relationship? We hear about Abraham in the first reading today from the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. And we hear Abraham seeming to barter with God. People in the Mideast, when they would go to buy things at the market, very often would sort of challenge each other, trying to get the best price and trying to make the most profit from the sale. That looks like what Abraham is doing, but notice the style. Abraham is coming across as someone who was a dear friend of God. Abraham was deeply respectful of God. But when you think of your very closest friends, we know them so well, don't we, that we know what buttons to push. We know what touches their hearts and their souls. Abraham knew that God was just. And so that's how Abraham talked to God, knowing that God was just. There was Sodom and Gomorrah, and God was threatening to destroy that city those two cities for their wickedness. And so Abraham challenges God. You are so good, you are so just. If there are 50 people there that are just, will you hold off? If there are 45, if there are 40. Finally gets God all the way down to 10. If there are 10 just people there, O just God, will you hold off on destroying those two cities? And God says yes. If there are but 10 just people there, I will not destroy those cities. They're tender words of Abraham because Abraham loves God. And on the strength of their relationship, Abraham can talk with God that way. And that pleases God very, very much. In the gospel, Jesus spins out the same lesson. His disciples asked Jesus, "Teach us how to pray as John the Baptist taught his disciples how to pray." And Jesus teaches them about the love in that relationship. He says you can call God Father. Not simply God, but you can call God your Father. What a tender relationship. On the strength of that relationship, Jesus says, as the Our Father goes, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. May I always use your name reverently and respectfully because I love you so much. And then because God is so loving, I can count on God to use his strength to give me what I need for my daily bread. And out of my love for God, I want to do what God wills, because God always wills what is proper and good. I want what you want for me, God. It's a relationship, not of an acquaintance, but of a dear friend. And that's what Jesus reveals to us, that we can call his Father our Father. And so if we want to get even more deeply connected with God, we have to cultivate our friendship with God. Why would we give our God any less attention than we give our dear friends here on earth? And in doing that, in cultivating our response, we need to have the hot spots for our prayer that we regularly go to, the times that we regularly spend with God, so we grow in our connection with God. And so I ask you right now, as I'm asking myself these questions, ask in your heart, am I God's friend, or is God for me more an acquaintance? What does my life show about that? How connected am I with God? How connected would I like to be with God? God's signal power of love is always on for us. Is my signal power of response to God always on for him?